Hello and welcome back to London Cycle Routes. Today I'll be showing you how to cycle from Stratford in East London right up to Walthamstow in North East London. This ride takes about 30 minutes and the whole thing is on protected cycle lanes and quiet streets with large stretches in parkland as well. The same journey by public transport also takes about 30 minutes as well, so this is a very viable option for commuting. And as always, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because I post new ones like it every week. Right, let's get going. So we're starting on the Olympic Park side of Westfield's shopping centre and you head straight down Westfield Avenue. That's where the journey begins. There is a cycle track on this road and it starts off really promising. There's a good one here. Unfortunately, it quickly degenerates into something that is a little bit patchy and of variable quality, but it does get the job done and it keeps you away from the cars. You can see here there's a particularly bad bit where we go over these tree roots which have been encased in cobbles, which for some reason have been incorporated into the cycle track, which doesn't make for a very nice surface to ride on. This is actually one of the strange things about the Olympic Park. I'm sure this looked really good on paper with a cycle track along the whole way and the developers definitely ticked a box, but unfortunately in practice it's actually been quite sloppily implemented. It's quite frustrating because they get it about 80% right, like this bit is very good, and if it was like this the whole way it would be fantastic. If anything, it does show the speed at which the quality of new cycling infrastructure in London has improved in the decade since this was put in. And it's easy to complain, you know, this is definitely better than the cycling provision on 95% of roads across the UK. And we're also not on it for a very long time because we're about to turn off it here into the park itself. This is a shared pedestrians and cycles crossing, so you use that and you come out onto Middlesex Way, which is a very broad path that is shared with pedestrians and cycles at the same time. One of the actually really nice things about the Olympic Park is that it was obviously built for huge numbers of visitors during the Olympics, so there's plenty of space here. And although often showing with pedestrians in parks can be quite a stressful experience, in some cases, that really isn't the case here. It's extremely wide, there's a lot of space for everyone to feel comfortable. When you get here, you might notice that one of the trickier things about cycling in the Olympic Park is actually wayfinding. There aren't really a lot of street signs or street names like you might if you were in an actual town. It's quite landscaped, so if you take a wrong turn you can actually find yourself going down a route where you can't actually turn off and you have to double back. The trick is to keep travelling down that main path until you can see the velodrome. That's that Pringle shaped building in the distance, and then turn the way we've gone over this bridge. That puts you onto a path called London Way, although it's actually very easy to miss the sign. For some reason it's actually in the middle of the road on the right there, so it's not really much use if you're just turning into the road, which is the conventional place to put a road sign. Then you'll come to this cross junction here and you want to turn left here. This path will lead you onto a series of bridges that cross the A12 road. There are actually a few different parallel routes that you could be taking here, but I've chosen to go this way because I think it's nicer. So for instance, there is a cycle path next to the Orient Way Expressway Road. I don't think that's a very good way to go. The path is quite narrow, it's actually quite tricky to find from the Olympic Park, and this is just a much nicer ride. And the park is open 24 hours, so you can use this as a commuter route. Now, you really just want to bear left here and keep following the sandstone coloured ground. This will lead you out through a few more bridges over more roads, and it will actually take you out onto Hackney Marshes, which is a really nice picturesque place to cycle, I think, particularly on a sunny day like this. Now this bit's wide here, but just coming up the path does narrow a little bit compared to what you've got in the Olympic Park. So again, this is a place that you have to share with pedestrians, so you know, do be courteous to people and give everyone a wide berth. I do like to point this out in my videos, and again you can see lots of families cycling here, and I think that's really nice, and it does show just what happens when you provide that quality of cycling infrastructure, that people can use it to get around. Where you find good cycling infrastructure, you find people of all ages and all skill abilities cycling. Just to note that there is a short section of the path here that's actually not properly paved, so this is actually packed earth. But if you don't have a mountain bike or anything like that, don't worry. I'm on a road bike with really thin tyres and I didn't have a problem at all. It was dry, but it looked pretty well drained to me, so I don't think you'd have a problem with mud or anything like that. Now, coming out here back onto the paved section, you're presented with a junction. Turn right into what looks like a forest here. This section is fully paved and it's also 24 hours, so you can go through it on a commuting route. Just to note that this section obviously looks really busy today, but if you were to come here at night it would probably be a little bit quieter, so if you're worried about being in a more isolated spot by yourself, then do take that into account. Personally, I wouldn't think it was a problem though. I think people do use this as a commuter route. This is probably a good time to mention that if you do find this video useful or you want to see more videos like it, then make sure you subscribe to the channel and also like this video. If you like the video, it helps other people find it, and if you subscribe to the channel, it'll help you find more videos like it. I post new routes like this every week, and they're always on protected cycle lanes in quiet streets. Also, if you look in the description of the video below, you'll be able to find a link to a map of the route, and you'll also be able to download a GPS file of it, so you can load that into your app of choice or onto your device or whatever you use if you're into that sort of thing. When it comes to this section of the route, I would just say enjoy the ride. There aren't really any places you can get lost. It's really just a straight path, and it's a greenway, so there's no traffic that you have to deal with at all. But do keep in mind that, as usual, this is a path that's shared with pedestrians, so don't scare anybody by going too close to them. Give everyone a couple of metres berth. You can see there's a bit of mud next to the path, but the track itself is actually really good. The surface is smooth, it's wide, and you don't have to have a special bike or anything to ride down here. Honestly as well, it just feels like you're in the countryside, to be honest. I mean, there's families out just enjoying it for a leisure ride, but equally it could make a really nice journey to work. It's definitely nicer than sitting on the bus, or actually the same journey by rail. You have to change at least once to get between the two stops. I love trains, but that's kind of a bit of a pain, so why not take the bike and get there the same amount of time, a little bit of exercise, and feel great when you arrive. By the way, for anybody who's not familiar with the area, you might be wondering, this is Hackney Marshes, where exactly is the marsh? It's not really a marsh anymore. It hasn't really been a marsh since, medieval times. The area has been drained, it's been reclaimed, and actually during World War II they used to dump a lot of rubble here, so that actually raised the level of the ground further. Do be extra careful on this bridge, by the way. It's called the Friends Bridge. It's just a little bit narrow, so it can be a bit of a pinch point for pedestrians and stuff like that. By the way, we're actually pretty close here to the famous Hackney Beach, which is a sort of quite attractive looking beach on the river we just crossed. The only problem is it's right next to a sewage overflow outlet, so it is not a very healthy place to go swimming. That actually made the New York Times, but there was a bit of confusion in the translation, because I think they headlined it as "Britons are flocking to swamps," because they got, I think they thought that this was still a marsh, and then they conflated marshes with swamps. So we're actually coming to the end of our time on this lovely path, and we'll be turning up right in a second on a kind of off-ramp that's going to take us up to Lea Bridge Road. And that road is going to take us pretty much all the way to Walthamstow. Now, you could have kept going straight down this, and I think there is a route up to Walthamstow if you were to keep going. When I came here, it's actually flooded, so I don't advise it. Now, this bit's a bit annoying. We need to use that crossing just in the distance there, but there isn't actually a cycle path in that direction. So, get down there as you feel you need to. You can push your bike, or, you can just cycle the wrong way down it if there's no one there. It's not really a big deal. But then cross the road, and you'll find yourself on this really nicely done cycle path next to Lea Bridge Road. I'm a massive fan of what Waltham Forest Council has done in this area of town. They've basically put a really high quality cycle path all the way down Lea Bridge Road. It's been an absolute game changer. It doesn't give way at junctions, you can see that's really important. And it's mostly pretty wide. Sometimes they didn't have quite enough space to make it as wide as you want it to be, and there's a few compromises. But generally it's pretty good. It's protected from motor traffic the whole way. And you can really see here, for a main road, there are absolutely hundreds of people out cycling on it. It really, really does induce demand when you build proper infrastructure like this. Absolutely tons of people using it. In fact, I'd actually go as far as to say that this part of the route is actually now it's actually overcrowded, it's over capacity. You'll see that when we get to some of the junctions, there are just so many people waiting. I doubt that when they built this they thought it would be this successful, but it really, really has been. It's really an incredible piece of infrastructure, and we should honestly have this on every trunk road in the country because it is fantastic. One thing I would say is, just imagine if all these people that you're seeing on bikes were in cars. They would be taking up a lot of space, and there would be a lot more congestion on that road, and that bus wouldn't be going as fast for the people who need to take the bus. This part of the route is very easy to remember. You really just go straight down it, and there are a few times that you have to wait at the lights. The light phases could be a bit quicker sometimes, but generally it's a pretty decent ride. It's right through the middle of this part of town. We'll be coming up to Baker's Arms in a bit. Here, by the way, is just one of those junctions where it's just huge numbers of people. But it's actually quite interesting, quite a nice part of town. There's a lot of street life, a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, just you can just sort of keep an eye out and sort of see what people are getting up to. It's just quite a nice ride, really. I think that's one of the nicest things about cycling around town. You really just get to sort of see what's going on, and it's quite nice. And you also see how everything connects up. I mean, if you just took the train, you probably wouldn't really see, you probably wouldn't know where everywhere was in relation to everywhere else. One nice design here is that traffic light. We've got a bypass past it, so it only applies to vehicles on the road, which is quite nice. Although make sure you don't run into anybody who's crossing the road. Be very careful. I have raved about the setup on this road before, and it's just very thoughtfully designed. One of the nice things is that this main road is fully protected cycle lanes, but you see these side roads as you come off. You go into those and they're actually low traffic neighbourhoods off the side, so it kind of acts as a distributor. You're going down this main road and then you come off and you can just go on the quieter streets, and you don't really have to worry about traffic on them there. Now, the bit we're coming up to now is a little bit constrained in how much space there is. There's been a few design compromises made. You'll see that the junction is actually absurdly busy with people on bikes here as you get past the market. Just coming up now there, and there's a little bit of a conflict with the pedestrian crossing as well, so I think that design could maybe be improved a little bit. But generally, this is actually pretty good. There's a short stretch here that's kind of on a shared pavement, by the way, so do make sure that you watch out for pedestrians there and, give them priority as you go past. Don't just sort of whiz into them or anything like that. So the road that we're actually looking out for on our left is a road called Copeland Road, and that is going to be the way that we go up to Walthamstow, and that's here. This road is filtered here, so there's no through traffic on it, thanks to those bollards we just passed through. And as a result, you don't really need a cycle track here. It's just a low traffic neighbourhood, as I was saying before. It's a little bit twist and turny, so you go down Clarendon Road and then you turn onto Pembroke Road, but then you just keep going pretty much straight for a while until we're nearly there. And you can see it's really nice. There's just people walking in the road. It's not, low traffic neighbourhoods are not just for people on bikes. It actually just makes it a nicer place to walk around. Traffic speeds are lower, traffic volumes crucially are lower. And it's probably just improved the area quite a lot. It's really quite nice, I think. One of the nice things about the low traffic neighbourhood approach is that, you're always going to be going to a slightly different place to where I show you how to get to in the video, and there won't always necessarily be a cycle path the whole way there. But with low traffic neighbourhoods, that doesn't really matter, because you could go down any of these roads and they'll all be quiet because they're all going to have reduced through traffic on them. So it's a great sort of way of making the whole area accessible to cycles. Now, coming up, you can see just why the area is so quiet. This is basically the linchpin of it, the sort of capstone. This bridge has actually been closed off with bollards, so we can pass through it, but cars can't pass through it. Then we turn left here onto St Mary Road. Now, what happens here actually illustrates, I thought this guy was coming the other way, so I move out the way, but actually he's obviously just coming home. He's just going to his own parking space, because there isn't through traffic here. It's really just people returning to their own homes. And we're actually here now. There's a little cut through at the end, and at the end of this street is Walthamstow Central Station. That's Walthamstow Central Station just across the road. So that route looks a little bit wiggly on the map, but it's actually pretty direct, so those wiggles don't actually take up extra time, and the alternative is, it's not such a nice ride. And I think you'll agree that was a decent ride. So thanks very much for watching to the end, guys. Really appreciate it. Let me know if you've got any ideas for other routes that I could try. And yeah, do subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video, and see you again next time. Thanks very much.